Hey guys, it's Bill Ray. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about building muscle for hard gainers. So if you're really skinny, you have a hard time gaining weight, putting on any muscle, hopefully these tips will help you out, help you gain some weight fairly quickly. Let's go ahead and get started. Why can you not gain weight? Well, typical bodybuilding diets don't always work for hard gainers. Eating chicken breast and stuff is great, but I'll get more into that in a few minutes. The second reason you can't gain weight is because you're under eating. A lot of people think that they're eating a lot, but they're really not eating enough to even maintain their body weight, let alone put on muscle or any kind of weight for that matter. And the third reason is you're just not training hard enough. A lot of people think that they're training hard and that they work hard and that they give it all they have in the gym, but they really are not giving it probably a fourth of what they really could. Those are the main three reasons that you're not gaining weight. So let's look at some pros and cons of your traditional nutrition plans. So the pros of a traditional bodybuilding nutrition plan are it's very healthy. You're usually eating chicken breast and broccoli and sweet potatoes and like really complex fibrous carbs, and which are very good for you. You usually aren't allowed to eat junk food. If you do eat junk food, you have a cheat day maybe once a week or once a month. And you usually, by doing this, you add very little fat to your body. Most all the weight you gain is lean muscle. The cons to this is complex carbs and high fibrous carbs make you feel full faster and longer. Because of this, you're not able to get enough calories. When you eat something that digests slowly, you're not able to eat as much because you feel full fairly quick. And those carb sources are designed to digest slowly, give you sustained energy. So when your mealtime rolls around 2 hours later, you're still full from that meal, and you almost have to force yourself to eat. And you don't eat as much as you would if you were hungry. So you're short-changing yourself on calories. And these types of nutrition plans are usually made for people that can actually put on weight easy to begin with. Most of the bodybuilders that you see in magazines don't have a hard time putting on weight because their genetics are just made for them to gain weight. You don't see a whole lot of ectomorphic bodybuilders, usually. People with fast metabolisms just usually don't make it into the bodybuilding world because they're not big. They're not genetically capable of gaining muscle quick. Some of the typical workout strategies are also the reason they're not gaining weight. Because if you read Muscle and Fitness and Muscle Mag and magazines like that, the typical workouts, especially when you look at the pros, when they analyze the pros' workouts, they're lifting for several hours. Now, at a certain point, your body is going to become catabolic. You only have a small window of anabolism during a workout. Usually, that time limit is usually within an hour. Because after an hour, you usually begin to become catabolic. You start breaking down muscle. The second strategy that most of bodybuilders use is they train muscles individually. Training muscles individually is great for shape, but it's not great for mass building. A lot of people think, well, if you want big biceps, you train your biceps set after set after set, exercise after exercise after exercise. And that this is going to build huge mass in your biceps. But the problem with this is you're only recruiting one muscle group. So the amount of mass that you're actually going to put onto that muscle is very little. Typically, you have to put on about 10 to 15 pounds of body weight to see a ½ inch to an inch in your arms. The third thing is people neglect their compound lifts. Your bench, your squat, and your deadlift should be the bread and butter of your workouts. The reason is because compound lifts require a great deal of muscle recruitment. When you bench press, you're not just working the chest. You're working the chest, you're working the front delts, you're working your lats to a degree, and your core to a degree. So there's a lot of muscle recruitment. When you squat, you're not just activating your quads. You're activating your hamstrings, your glutes, your quads, your hip flexors, your core, and your arms, because most of the time you're pushing on that weight with your arms to keep it from crushing your back. If the weight's heavy, you're almost trying to keep some of the weight off your back. So but lifts like that are a total body movement. The deadlift is not just a back exercise. It activates your hips, your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings, your abs, your spinal erectors, and your traps. It works the entire body. Anything that works the entire body like that is great for mass building, not shape training. You're not going to look like a bodybuilder when you're trying to gain weight. You can shape later. You need to focus on building overall mass. So by keeping your workout short, we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but keeping your workout shorter than several hours and focusing on compound movements allows you to get more bang for your buck in a shorter amount of time. So my suggestions would be work out shorter and more intense. I would try to keep my workouts under an hour. Me personally, I like to keep my workouts under 30 minutes, and I try to get as much out of that 30-minute window as I can. When you lift, you want to lift heavy, you want to lift controlled, you want to focus on the muscle groups that you're lifting. So if you're benching, you want to push and feel it in your chest, shoulders, and your core, and your lats. You should feel it in all those areas when you bench press, because you want to mentally send a message to those muscles to activate during your workouts. And you want to lift with a purpose and determination. You should literally walk out of the gym not being able to give it any more. But you should be able to repeat that same workout 6 hours later, because you shouldn't be training so hard for so long that you can't physically do the workout later. I'm not saying that you should do the same workout 6 hours later, but the idea is that you give it all you have then to fatigue the muscle, and then you should recover fairly quickly because it is a short, intense workout. You want to focus on your compound movements like your bench, your squat, your deadlift, because you want maximum muscle recruitment. That's what's going to build overall general mass. Training individual muscles is a secondary thing. Your bread and butter should be your compound lifts, and then you can add a few subsequent lifts to the workout, but keeping those workouts short and intense. You want to eat as much as you can. The more you eat, the more likely you are to gain weight. I wouldn't focus too much on eating healthy as much as I would eating quantity. You do want quality. You do want high protein sources, healthy fat sources, and healthy carb sources. But if you have a hard time gaining weight, you're going to have to eat more calories, and sometimes eating complex carbs make you feel full and you can't eat enough. So sometimes you're going to have to eat a pizza or something that you like, because it's gonna add weight to you. There's a lot of there's calorie dense food out there that is not part of a traditional bodybuilding nutrition plan. And those are some of the places you're going to have to go to get your calories. Sometimes you have to break some rules and cheat a little bit, especially if you're a hard gainer. If you can't gain weight, you're going to have to try something that your traditional plans don't offer. The only way you're going to know what kind of mass you're gaining, you can weigh on the scale, but the scale's only going to tell you how much you weigh. You're going to have to look in the mirror and see what kind of weight you're putting on. If you gain 10 pounds and you're not jiggling in the mirror, you're not putting on a pot belly or a spare tire, you're probably gaining more muscle than anything. If you are starting to look a little pudgy, I wouldn't worry too much about it, because as fast as your metabolism is, if you start doing a cutting plan, that fat's going to melt off faster than you can blink. So I would use the mirror to see what kind of weight I'm putting on. And if you are gaining too much fat, I would just cut my overall calories a bit and cut some carb sources out, just until your body starts burning the fat off, and then you can start adding again to build your muscle. If you're a hard gainer, you're not going to have to worry about gaining a lot of fat. And if you do gain fat, I wouldn't worry too much, because you're not going to gain a significant amount. But if you do, modify some things to your body. Well, so basically, just keep your workout short and intense. Focus on your compound movements and eat. Eat whole eggs, eat beef, eat chicken, eat pizza if you have to. Try to stay healthy, but you're going to have to break some traditional rules, because to gain weight, you're going to have to do something different, because obviously if you're watching this video, what you've already tried probably hasn't worked for you yet. So try something new, cheat a little bit, see what happens. Hope it works out for you. Try these for a few weeks, and hopefully they'll work. Enjoy.